let's do, you know what, I was very moved by your letter to yourself. I have conversations with myself, to myself, in all dimensions, in the future, in the past, at all times. But this is a beautiful tribute that you put out into the universe. If you haven't heard it, if you haven't heard, it's Violet's anniversary right now, because Violet is in the future. 14 years on the Day of Love, which is today, the Day of Love. Happy Valentine's Day. So let's hear from Violet and Blossom, two Violets. Blossom will be playing the piano, and Violet will be playing her own voice, the vocals, but she shares something very important. This is something beautiful. I sent this to my dad after hearing it, and it really goes with my own really theme for this year, which is catharsis and reconciliation, not only with others, but with myself and my own history and you know the thousands of lives that I've lived, and just trying to collect myself. And you know, one way you do it is you write that letter to yourself. You have those conversations with yourself, and you go, yo, it's okay. Like, you're okay. Look at, I'm still here. That's why I always have conversations with myself in the future, conversations with myself in the past, and send out those messages because I know that they can hear it. You know it, you did it. I know, Violet, you know, because you did it. So let's hear it. I'm not going to talk too much more about it. This track is on her page if you want to view it, if you want to receive the energy that she sent out, that her and Blossom have put together for you so beautifully.
This is a letter I wrote to my younger self. There are many stories we carry quietly, stories we rarely share, especially as spiritual teachers, parents, or community leaders who encourage gentleness and self-compassion in others. For many years, I carried a heavy story about my sons. I divorced their father. They moved to another state. I became what people sometimes call the weekend mom. I told myself it was the best decision at the time, but in quiet moments, I wondered if I had failed them. I carried that for decades. But recently something shifted. I realized I'd been holding my younger self to an impossible standard, judging her with hindsight, resources, and wisdom she simply didn't have. So I wrote her a letter. Dear Violet, I see you. I see how scared and lonely you felt when you made those decisions. I see how hard you tried to do the right thing with the information and support you had at the time. You didn't choose an easy path. You chose the path you thought would protect your boys and give everyone a chance at stability. That was an act of love, not abandonment. You couldn't see the future. You couldn't control who their father would become. You couldn't know how things would unfold. You made the best choice you could with the tools, strength, and clarity you had in that moment. That is all anyone can ever do. Your boys are okay. They've grown up to be amazing men. They love you. They trust you. They reach for you in those hard moments. That is the measure of motherhood, not proximity, not perfection, not staying married, not staying in one place. You did not fail them. You did not ruin their childhood. You did not break your family. You stayed. You loved, you kept showing up, even when your heart was heavy. You carried guilt that wasn't yours to carry. You punished yourself for circumstances you could not control. You grieved a story that did not have to define you. It's time to let that go. You are allowed to release this pain. You are allowed to forgive yourself. You are allowed to be proud of the mother you were and the mother you are. You don't have to carry this anymore. With so much love, Violet. Friends, if this resonates with you, I invite you to write your own letter to your younger self. You might be surprised by how much compassion rises when you let yourself see your past through kinder eyes. And if you're someone who teaches gentleness but struggles to offer it inward, know this: you are not alone. Sometimes the deepest teachings are the ones we are still learning to give ourselves. Sending you so much love, Violet.
How beautiful is that? Such a beautiful thing, right? They hit you right in the heart. Thank you for sharing that. Such a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Violet 108. Thank you so much, Blossom Violet, for sharing your beautiful gifts with the universe. Thank you for being you. If I could write a letter and send it to my former self, I'd say take care of your mind and your soul, but please be aware of your health. Strive for peace with every move through all of your highs and your lows, and remind yourself these are things that you already know. To anyone out there who needs this, please trust me that you're not alone. There's millions of people just like you out there who are struggling and lost on their own. We've all fought the devil at night with the bottle of death in our hands. So just know that angels surround you and somebody who understands. This is my redemption anthem. Now I can rise up and say, yesterday's battles are over. Now I can see a new day. I've walked through the fire and flames, but still I stand on my own. So this is my redemption anthem, and now I am on my way home. To all who have ever existed, today and the future and past, to everyone possessing a cognitive mind with the power of perspective contrast, you and I are only visitors here. No, this planet's not ours to destroy. And please don't ever give up on your dreams. They exist for you to enjoy. When you've seen what I've seen, When you've died like I've died and you've been down that road, on your hands and your knees you have crawled. Well, I don't mean to boast, but the thing I know most is that I know nothing at all. I love that. That really touched me. Motherhood is wonderful, but it can be so heavy. Thank you, Amanda. So blessed to have a community like this where we can share our vulnerability. I never shared those feelings with anyone. Thank you for sharing, Violet. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, Benny, you can't give up on your dreams. Never give up on your dreams. They exist for you to enjoy. This is my redemption anthem. And now I can rise up and say, yesterday's battles are over. Now I can see a new day. I've walked through the fire and flames, but still I stand on my own. This is my redemption anthem, and now I am on my way home.
All right, friends. So, yeah, I loved that. Matt brought it up during one of his lives, and I asked him if I could have that clip because I loved the way he introduced it and I loved his song at the end. And I just, his music is so healing and so inspiring, and it went well with my track, what I did. Let's see. Patrice says, Mitch. Well, okay. Let me read Mitch's comment. I'm not good at it, so thank you for the practice. You're not good at crying. Listen, I used to hold back a lot too, and now I just let it go. Patrice says, Mitch, sometimes we're gifted resilience from a situation like that. I was kicked out of the house at 15 and lived on the streets and preferred that to the abusive home. When you're in a vulnerable situation, you do the best you can. Yeah, absolutely. And at 15 and 14, you're just children. I mean, that's a lot to deal with at that age. Carrie says we're so hard on ourselves. Sometimes we know that we're doing the best we could. Yeah, and that was the thing. Like I said about my letter, that I knew, or now I know, maybe at the time I did too, that I was doing the best that I could, but I was still really hard on myself, and I carried a lot of guilt and a lot of shame for a lot of years. Those of you who were here last week heard me talk about how I would explain every time I had to tell someone that my sons lived with their dad. I would explain why and how. I'd go into this whole detailed explanation because I was so afraid that people would think badly of me. I didn't want them to think my kids were taken away or that I was a bad mother. Like I found myself constantly explaining, that we had gotten divorced and the kids lived with me for a while and they wanted to live with their dad, and I agreed. And now when I look back on it, I'm like, why was I constantly explaining myself? It was because I felt guilty. I felt bad. I didn't want anybody to think badly of me because I used to think to myself, what kind of mother lets her kids go live with their dad? I had been a stay-home mom for a long time. And, I went back to work and I divorced their dad, and the boys were living with me, and then they wanted to live with him. And um I wouldn't say that I regret it because they have made a beautiful life in Pennsylvania where their father was living.
But, they went through some hard times with him too because he was okay for a while and then his temper came back and he was a mean, and I don't mean mean physically, although he could be physical, but mean verbally, just a mean person with the things he would say to hurt people. He used to do that to me. So I can imagine how he did it to them, even though, like I said, for a while he was on his best behavior. And then he went back to being who he was. And, the kids were in school in Pennsylvania. My oldest had a girlfriend who's the one he married, who, the mother of my grandbabies. So they did not want to come back to New York to live with me. And I had to live with knowing that I let them go live with him and they were now putting up with the same nonsense that I had walked away from. And that was really, really hard. And writing that letter finally freed me of that pain that I had been carrying for so long because it was something I never talked about. Carrie says, as a mother, we're always hard on ourselves. Yeah, I tell my daughter that all the time, and my son too, because they've got two little babies now. One's almost 4, one's almost a year old, and they're always like, I feel like I'm doing this wrong. I'm not doing enough. And I said, listen, let me tell you right now, that feeling never goes away. No matter what you do, no matter how much you do, you always feel like it's not enough or like you've done something wrong or you could have done something better. Ah, yeah, Carrie, you feel like you abandoned your child, but you didn't. You did not abandon your child. You were doing what you needed to do to survive, and I get that. And you know that. And if I always say if someone in my situation had come to me, I would have said to her, you did the best you could. You need to forgive yourself and stop holding yourself, as this awful person. But yet I couldn't do that for myself. It's easy for us to tell someone else, not so easy. I always say talk to yourself the way you would to a friend, but it's not always that easy to do. Carrie says the guilt got to me and I had to go back and get him because his dad wasn't doing what he needed to do. Yeah, your ex was abusive too. Well, I tried really hard too to get my kids to come back to New York, but they didn't want to. They wanted to stay in Pennsylvania. They had even asked me to move to Pennsylvania, and I was like, I had a job in New York. I was struggling to make ends meet, but I had a job, and I was like, I can't uproot my entire life and try to start over in Pennsylvania. Plus, anytime I left the job, he would come after me for more child support. That was another story. But anyway, friends, long story short, I encourage you to write these letters to yourself. Angie says ancestral trauma and abuse destroyed my childhood, youth, and young adult. Like Patria, I ran away age 12, lived in vehicles, strangers' houses. Adult life was filled with violence, drugs, drink, abusive relationships. It's taken 20 consistent years of self care and meditation to be healed from all that stuff. I'm blessed nowadays with a super peaceful life, emotional, mental strength, and well being that most people don't get to experience. Yeah, that is a blessing. Carrie says he's so much off now. He had to live with his dad for the last 4 years, and he understands now why I left in the first place. Now he moved back to Utah to be with his son. Well, that's good. And that's one of the things when my ex and I were going through our whole divorce, he was really mean in some of the things he said about me to the boys. And, my friends would tell me, oh, you should defend yourself and you should tell them this. And I was like, no, one day they will know the truth. I'm not going to badmouth him. I'm not going to defend myself. And I'm glad I didn't do that to them. And, now they're adults, 28 and 31. And we talk about it all the time. And they know why I left him. They understand it now. They might not have understood it then, but they definitely understand it now. So everything comes out, It's hard when you're going through it, but everything comes out. Patrice says, I'm happy for you, Angie. You did what it took to break the cycle. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Angie. So I am going to continue to encourage all of you to write letters. I will eventually, during these lives, set some time for us to do it during the live. I would love to do it now if anybody wants to give it a try. And if not, that's okay too. When we go offline or later today or tomorrow, anytime during the week, whenever you feel like it, sit down and write that letter to yourself. Carrie says, yes, exactly. I'm assuming that's to Patri. Yes. And, you know, the other thing that I find amazing when you share these things with other people, you never realize what other people have been through. Like we all, sit here and chat and joke around with each other. And when stuff like this comes up, you start realizing how many other people have been through similar situations, like Carrie shared. And, like I see Angie sharing about her situation. And I forget who else was sharing here. Let me scroll back. Try to scroll back if I can. Yeah, okay. It scrolled away. But it's nice to know that you're not alone. Bethany writes, I didn't defend myself to my son either. I just kept saying I did the best for him and for myself. It didn't take long before he had a clear perspective and said he understood. Yeah, that's wonderful. And that's a hard thing to do, I know. I remember one time my son, my older son, he was probably maybe 11, 12 years old. We were having an argument. And he said to me in anger, he said, you are a selfish bee, just like dad said you are. And I was like, I can't even tell you how I felt at the time. And all I said to him was, leave the room and walk away from me right now because I can't even talk to you right now. I was so angry that he said that to me. Yeah, I was livid. And when we talk about these things now, and he's like, Mom, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, listen, that was 20 years ago. It's over and done with. And yeah, it was very hard not to react because honestly, Bethany, I wanted to beat him up. I'm not going to lie. I'm not an abusive person, but I was so angry. And that's why I said to him, leave the room right now. And he started to challenge me. I said, I'm warning you, and I'm not going to say it again. Walk out of this room right now. I cannot see you right now. And he did. He took my advice and he left the room. But I was livid. And, these were the things that their father was saying, and that hurtful, really hurtful stuff to hear something like that coming out of your kid's mouth when you know that you're doing the best that you can, but this person is poisoning them and you don't want to be, you don't want to be that parent who puts your kids in the middle. I refused to do that. Let's see what else. Patrice says, I'm going to write some gratitude letters to those that helped me when I hurt my knee, walked my dog, brought groceries, etc. Yeah, and I'm a huge believer in writing gratitude letters, and we're going to do a session just on that. Carrie says, it's so healing. Thank you for suggesting to do this for yourself. You're absolutely welcome. It was so healing for me, and I definitely want to share that. Mitch says, the choices we've made in the past, whether good or bad, and the terror current self grew from, yes, the only way I've started to forgive myself is I've realized that what I did back then does not take away from the work I've done to be the person I am now. It was the drive to be this beautiful human. Yeah, absolutely it was. And I say that all the time. These experiences in my past, as hard as they were, they made me who I am today. And I'm grateful for who I am today. Angie says, Patria, I've been to hell and back many times. Ooh, the comments are rolling now. Let's see if I can get that one back. Bethany says, I'm a pacifist, but there's times I wanted to throat punch both of them. Bethany, me too. I love that you said that because that's something that my friend and I say all the time. We want to throat punch them when they get out of control. Alexis says, all I grew up in was dysfunction. Family's full of dysfunction. He doesn't know how much help I'm getting from here. Aw. From Insight Timer teachers, live sessions, recorded tracks, seeing a counselor. Yeah, these are all the tools that we use for healing. I grew up with an alcoholic father. He did factory work and all he would do is smoke and drink. To function, he was never there for me. I always had to depend on myself while my mom worked. Dad had a gambling issue, had issues with it since I was a kid. He was and can be verbally abusive, mean, and such a bully. Yeah, I can understand that. I was diagnosed with cancer, diagnosed again in November. Wow. I had to have both of my ovaries taken out, full hysterectomy, oof, chemo treatment. Oh, yesterday, Alexis, sending you so much love and healing energy. Wow, that's a lot that you're going through right now. You have your last chemo treatment March 18th, and you have to have a PET scan. Hopefully, you'll be back in remission for the second time. I am sending you a lot of prayers and a lot of love. And I know that you will be in remission for a second time. Sending you so much love. Carrie says, Amen, Mitch. And Joanne says, I've been sending gratitude cards to the people who've been supporting my chronic pain. Yeah, I love doing gratitude. That's so important too, because I feel like the more grateful you are for the good things, the better your life gets. And maybe it's because you're focusing on the good things you might be missing otherwise. But for me, that has always been huge. And Alexis, everyone is sending you a lot of love and a lot of healing prayers. Yeah, I love how supportive this community is. All right, friends. I'm going to have to get back to work. I do have that meeting at 3 o'clock. But maybe before I go, what can I leave you with that's a little more uplifting? And while you're listening, if you want to start writing your letter, you can. Carrie says, from a former cancer survivor, much love and healing. Mitch says, I'm going to write gratitude letter to my younger self. Mitch, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that too. I don't think I've done a gratitude letter to my younger self. Bethany says, you're all heroes. I truly hope you hear, accept that and own it. Yeah, Bethany, absolutely. It's hard, right? To accept that and to own it, but I agree with you. Hugs and mad respect all around. Be proud for overcoming such large and painful feats and celebrate. Yes. Patrice says, Insight Timer teacher Fred Wood has excellent talks about gratitude. Off to walk the dog. All right, enjoy your dog walking. I'm going to have to look into Fred Wood. I don't think I know him. Mitch says, thank you. Angie says, Alexis, keep going, sending you love and strength. Carly says, I've been writing, listening, and sniffling. How you read that without crying is amazing. Carly, you didn't hear me explain how I did that, right? I read it 6 times, cried every time until I could finally stop crying long enough to make the track. So it trust me, it wasn't easy. And in fact, in the track, you can hear my voice is still breaking up a little. But I cried and I cried and I cried until until I finally had nothing left and could finally record that track. Yes, now you understand. Yeah, I was empty. I was crying so much, but it was so incredibly healing. I didn't even realize how much I needed that. That was like 20 years of holding all that in. Alexis, much love and healing energy. I love that everyone is sending Alexis so much love. Carly says, you know what? That rereading was in the healing. Yeah, yes, Carly, yes. And for those of you who don't know Carly, a smile from heaven, amazing teacher here. I keep calling her Carly because I know her, but it's a smile from heaven. And she does some amazing cacao ceremonies and creative stuff. We were doing for a while some creative collaborations, which we will get back to, I promise. I took a little break towards the end of the year because I was just burning out from trying to do everything. But there are certain collaborations that I absolutely love and just uplift me. You all know, the musicians I do once a month. I love doing that. The creative stuff, I love doing that. And I definitely love watching Carly create because she is amazing. Let's see. Carrie says, much love to everyone. Mari says, you've come a long way from when I first saw you on Tarot. Yeah, I used to do coffee and crystals, Mari. Coffee and crystals was what I used to do. And it's so funny that you mentioned that because that's how I became a teacher. Bethany says, we love Carlos. What did I miss? And Carly says, feeling the love. Tons of love. Oh, your nickname is Carlos. I did not know that. That's funny. Let's see. Yeah, Mari mentioned when I first became a teacher. Can you believe it's almost been 3 years? Like I just realized the other day, I went live for the first time May of 2023. Feels like yesterday. I had no idea what I was going to do on Insight Timer. I just wanted to get involved here with the teachers and the community. And, of course, with the tech skills, I wanted to figure out a way to bring teachers together. So in order to become a teacher, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I don't teach yoga or meditation or, there's a lot of things I don't do. I'm not a musician. So I was like, all right, I love journaling. I love crystals. I love oracle cards. So I used to do this thing called coffee and crystals, just with cards. Coffee and crystals card, coffee and cards. I forget what it was called, something like that. But we used to, talk about crystals and oracle cards and stuff like that. Eventually, I evolved into the journaling, but right from the get go, I wanted to do collaborations with other teachers, which I did, which I love. And I did mention, I'm going to put that card up again, that we have. Oh, we also have another musicians live coming up. I'll put that card up first. That's 2 days before the next peaceful pause. Alexis says, Maribel, Bethany, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, so much. All your love and support is truly appreciated. I'm so grateful. Mari says, do coffee and crystals again. Maybe I will. You know why I stopped doing it, honestly? And here's a little confession, because I know I've said this before. I suffer from imposter syndrome. I used to pull cards and would read to people what the card meant, but was literally reading it from the book. I don't feel like I'm an intuitive card reader, and I want to be an intuitive card reader. And I've been ever since looking at the cards and trying to get a feel for them. Bethany says what Mari said, but because I felt like I was an imposter, I see other people go on and they read cards intuitively, and that little voice in my head started telling me, "Oh, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing this. These people are more qualified." So that's why I stopped doing it. But thank you for saying that. Carrie, thank you for that donation. Beautiful, beautiful offering. As you know, I give all donations during lives. I pay them forward to the animal rescues, which are, you know, one of my favorite causes. So I really appreciate that. But the voice is great at blocking intuition. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I've said many times that I do feel like I block myself a lot. And I know that Carly always encourages us to unblock ourselves and to let that creativity through. And I'm always like, I'm not creative. I can't do that. But yeah, I'm working on that. Joanne says, I'm the same. I can do it intuitively for myself, but find it hard to do for other people. So I only do group cards now. Yeah, I understand that. Oh, Carrie, love you too. Thank you. So I want to close out with something a little more cheerful, because I don't like, not that I feel like I've brought anybody down, but I like to end a little more upbeat. Carly says, Lucky Jordan's not awake. Oh, I know Jordan would be telling me that. Jordan's always telling me that. I love him. I love both of you, because both of you have encouraged me so much to do things like this, which I normally would not have done, because when I first came on here with my crystals and my cards, I was keeping it very, you know, um, not deep. I wasn't going deep. I wasn't telling people anything personal, which is what I'm doing now, which I love, which is very healing. But yeah, you and Jordan always, I know after the lives, you would always encourage me, to stop saying I couldn't do things, and to just do it and to trust myself. And I've definitely broken out of that mold that I had, where I was like, I can't do these things. There's people more qualified than me. Nobody wants to hear my story. My story's not that bad. I was wrong. And I acknowledge that. Bethany says, listen to one of Carly's cacao tracks before reading. You'll be very chill and centered. Yeah, I love her tracks. Love that you felt encouraged. Yes, yes. And I remember you and Jordan would talk to me for like an hour after our live collaborations. And I mean, I took everything you said to heart. I did, or I wouldn't be here right now. So I really appreciated that support. All right, what track am I going to play as we go out? Let me see what do I have here in my queue that I can play. I want to play something that will leave you all feeling uplifted. And like I said, I encourage you, please write that letter. If you want to share it with me, share it. If you want a track, I'm happy to record it for you. I encourage you to do it in your own voice, but if you feel like you can't, I can do it for you too. And, or do what I did. Cry. Read it 6 times and cry, and then do it. Okay. I'm looking for one of Matt's Ah, Bethany, thank you. Looking for one of Matt's songs to play here. He's got so many beautiful ones. It's hard to pick. Let's see. All right. Trying to pick just one is hard, but I'm going to. I can do this. As soon as I find my video, where did it go? All right, I know. I'll pull it from somewhere else. Hang on one second. Replays. I'm gonna play Made for You and Me. I love that one. Oh, No Not I. Which one is No Not I? Bethany reminds me. I have them by names. I have Made for You and Me. I have Daylight. I have Blessed. I have Peace. I don't know if I have that one. I'm going to play this one. I don't know if I have that one. I'm going to still be here while it's playing too.
Look at the flowers, they were made for you. Look at the stars, they were made for you. Breathe in the air, it was made for you. Hey, look over there, yep, that was made for you too. Look at the frogs and how they leap for you. Look at the birds and how they fly for you. Look at the wind and how he sings for you. Look at the rain and how he cries for you. Look at the sky, look at the sea, look at the fish that swim beneath. Look at the dogs and cats that give us love and comfort when we need. Look at the birds, look at the bees, look at the plants, look at the trees, look all across the universe and you will see that it was made for you and me. Look at the sun and how he shines for you. Look at the planets and how they align for you. Seasons come and go like clockwork every year. When Christmas comes around, our hearts are filled with cheer. Every day I see the beauty all around. From the morning sunrise to a night when it goes down. Look at the world around and receive it. Put down your phone so you can see it. Look at the sky, look at the sea, look at the fish that swim beneath. Look at the dogs and cats that give us love and comfort when we need. Look at the birds, look at the bees, look at the plants, look at the trees, look all across the universe and you will see that it was made for you and me. over there, yep, that was made for you too. Look at the frogs and how they leap for you. Look at the birds and how they fly for you. Look at the wind and how he sings for you. Look at the rain and how he cries for you. Look at the sky, look at the sea, look at the fish that swim beneath. Look at the dogs and cats that give us love and comfort when we need. Look at the birds, look at the bees, look at the plants, look at the trees. Look all across the universe and you will see that it was made for you and me. Look at the sun and how he shines for you. Look at the planets and how they align for you. Seasons come and go like clockwork every year. When Christmas comes around, our hearts are filled with cheer. Every day I see the beauty all around. From the morning sunrise to a night when it goes down. Look at the world around and receive it. Put down your phone so you can see it. Look at the sky, look at the sea, look at the fish that swim beneath. Look at the dogs and cats that give us love and comfort when we need. Look at the birds, look at the bees, look at the plants, look at the trees. Look all across the universe and you will see that it was made for you and me. Look at the sky, look at the sea, look at the fish that swim beneath.